And there's a news alert coming in from Russia as just ahead of Prime Minister Modi's visit to Vladivostok. Russian ambassador to India has supported centre's move on Jammu and Kashmir, calling it a sovereign decision. This is the latest that we are bringing to you at this moment, that just ahead of Prime Minister Modi's visit to Vladivostok, Russian ambassador to India has supported the centre's move on Jammu and Kashmir, calling it a sovereign decision.
The current state and prospects of the bilateral
Remember,
relations
this
between
is
India and
just
Russia,
days ahead, and at the moment also, as we speak, Foreign Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is already in Moscow, and in just a few while from now he is expected to hold talks with his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov. Russia was one of the first countries to be supporting India when it comes to the issue of Jammu and Kashmir. For more details, let's also go across to my colleague Ramesh Ramachandran, who is joining me live from the newsroom at this hour. Ramesh, this of course is a reiteration. Of course, there has been much back and forth because let's not forget Russia's UN envoy had contradicted Russia's stance, but now this of course comes as major relief to India-Russia relations.
Indeed, Akanksha, this was made by Russia's ambassador to India, Nikolay Kudashev, here in New Delhi just moments ago. The ambassador says, and I quote here, that abrogation of Article 370 is a sovereign decision of the Indian government. All matters between India and Pakistan can be resolved through the Shimla agreement. It is an internal matter of India. So this comes as a shot in the arm for the Indian government on the issue of Jammu and Kashmir as well.
Right. Also, Ramesh, as we speak, we can just expect in some time from now how are we expecting Dr. S. Jaishankar to be preparing the ground for Prime Minister Modi as he's expected to be meeting his Russian counterpart in some days from now on? Because let's not forget, there are high stakes for both the countries in the West Asia region.
Indeed, now Russia is a times-tested friend and partner of India, be it defense, be it security, civil nuclear energy, or even space. Russia has stood by India for almost 7 decades now, and we're looking forward to another summit meeting between Prime Minister Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin on the margins of the Eastern Economic Forum in Vladivostok next week. So we are looking forward to that summit meeting, but as we are given to understand, Foreign Minister Jaishankar is in Moscow and he will hold talks with Lavrov very soon to prepare the ground for Prime Minister Modi's visit there and his bilateral talks with President Putin. Remember, many issues of interest will be on the agenda, including regional issues such as Afghanistan and Iran, where India has high stakes in both countries.
Also, you know, going back to the Russian ambassador's comments, Ramesh, it's important to reiterate how India and Russia have been constantly maintaining their positions on the issue of Jammu and Kashmir. Going back to the days when just few days ago our NSA Ajit Doval had met his Russian counterpart, that's also one moment when India had clearly underlined that no third-party intervention would be welcomed.
Absolutely. It's been India's consistent position, Akanksha, that Jammu and Kashmir is India's internal matter. Why? Because Jammu and Kashmir, the entire Jammu and Kashmir is an integral part of India, and that there is no scope for mediation or any involvement or intervention by a third party or third country. And that has been endorsed by many countries around the world, including the permanent 5 members of the UN Security Council. And Russia's statement today is the latest, endorsement of India's position on this issue. Russia clearly saying that India-Pakistan issues should be resolved under the rubric of the bilateral agreements, namely the Shimla agreement, and that abrogation of Article 370 is a sovereign decision of the Indian government. So this would have come as a shot in the arm for the Indian government on the issue of Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir.
Right. Ramesh, what sort of views can we expect India and Russia to exchange? Because let's not forget that both the countries also share tremendous interests in when it comes to issues in the Asia-Pacific region as well.
Absolutely. India and Russia are also members of many multilateral groupings, be it BRICS, be the Shanghai Cooperation Organization or even the RIC, Russia, India, China trilateral grouping. So India has stakes in the bilateral relationship with Russia, in multilateral and global arenas as well. Now, talking specifically about India-Russia bilateral ties, Akanksha, as I mentioned before, Russia is a time-tested partner of India, be it defense, security, space or civil nuclear. And by the way, Russia is going to select and train at least 4 of the 12 Indian astronauts who will be sent on the Gaganyaan mission, India's first manned mission to space by the year 2022. So that also goes to show how Russia is closely working with India on many spheres.
All right. How do you see our Foreign Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, turning a new leaf when it comes to the bilateral ties between the two countries? Because today, the Russian ambassador's comments come just a day after our Foreign Minister slammed Pakistan, for using terrorism as a diplomatic tool.
Absolutely. Remember, Russia is one of the few countries which said several years ago, much before many other countries around the world, that there can't be good or bad terrorists, that a terrorist is a terrorist is a terrorist, and that there should be no exceptions to be made whether they are Pakistan-based terrorists operating against Afghanistan or India. So to that extent, Russia and India have been consistent on the issue of cross-border terrorism, that Pakistan needs to dismantle, disrupt and dislocate the terrorist groups and terrorists operating on its soil, targeting both Afghanistan and India. And to that extent, India will be exchanging notes with Minister Lavrov when Jaishankar meets with him just moments from now. And we're looking forward to hear from both ministers on the exact contours of those talks to be held in Moscow.
All right, so as we speak, now let's also listen in to what the Russian ambassador Nikolay Kudashev had to say. We've just got those comments coming in. Let's have a look.
Our position is crystal clear and well known, even to the Indian public. We belong that this decision is a sovereign decision of Indian government. It belongs to the constitutional space of India, thus making it naturally an internal matter of India. And naturally, we would prefer all the issues existing between India and Pakistan to be resolved through dialogue on the basis of Shimla Agreement and Lahore Declaration. If you would compare it to the relevant Indian position, my feeling is that you would come to the conclusion that our positions are almost 100% identical.
Now, the Deputy Ambassador, who was also present at the presser, has said that escalation of tension between the two countries is a matter of international concern. He has called India a responsible player. Let's also get in Ramesh's take on this comment that's come in. Ramesh, what do you make of these statements? Because at the same
he says, and I quote here, is the concern of the international community of growing importance of disarmament as it's called in strategic terms. So this is a key concern for both India and Russia, and the talks are happening on this front as well. Remember, as I mentioned before, Jaishankar is about to meet Lavrov in Moscow in just minutes from now, and we can expect to hear more from the two principals when they address the media there.
All right, Ramesh, let me also bring in Kartikeya Sharma, our political editor, joining us on the phone line as we speak. Kartikeya, what should India make of these comments coming in? This is indeed positive reiteration of Russia's stance on the issue of Jammu and Kashmir. All right, so we have seemed to have lost Kartikeya Sharma on the phone line, but this is the latest. These are some big developments happening as we speak, because don't forget, our India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is currently in Moscow, and in just a few minutes from now he will be meeting his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov. And just ahead of that much anticipated meet, the Russian ambassador has also reiterated Russia's stance on the issue of Jammu and Kashmir, extending their support to India. This has been something that was anticipated. The ambassador to India has supported the Indian government's move on the abrogation of Article 370 on Jammu and Kashmir. Let me also go back to Kartikeya Sharma, who's back with us on the phone line. Kartikeya, as I was saying, this indeed comes as a positive reiteration of India's stance if we look at the Russian ambassador's comments.
See, there are two things. One is that when the Russians say, and they re-emphasize, Lahore and Shimla agreement, they take a position which is traditionally has been India's, that it is through the prism, it is through the framework of Shimla agreement, which happened in the wake of Pakistan losing its eastern extension of Bangladesh, and the meeting which took place between former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi and Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, and that the whole framework was devised that the issues between India and Pakistan are bilateral in nature, one, party mediation second, and they will be resolved between both the countries. So when we talk about India's position, we have to see it from the prism of Shimla agreement, and then came the Vajpayee's visit to Lahore, to Pakistan. So that's the second part of it. Now, when Russians say that all the issues between India and Pakistan can be resolved through Shimla agreement, they are doing the traditional foreign policy line of India. That's one. Now, secondly, when another question was put to the Deputy Ambassador, and I was asked on the issue of escalation, I think that is something which was of importance, because the question was on Rajnath Singh's policy. So he said that an internal had commented on it, but then he also added by saying that they really hope that this does not turn into real escalation. So Kashmir internationally is not something which people are not aware of, or they are not keenly observing it. But yes, India diplomatically has been very able to successfully pursue international community, has used terrorism as a diplomatic and a strategic tool, which is perhaps makes Pakistan the only nation to do so. And secondly, Akansha, this comes in the wake of Prime Minister's visit to Vladivostok, and Russian ambassador was at pains to say that this is going to be a very important meeting between two of them, where they expect that the relationship, if not to use the word, to be restored to the heydays,
right,
but will see more intensity in both economic and defense partnerships.
Right. Kartikeya, let me ask you my second and last question, which is, at a time when Pakistan is for India and blocking trade routes between India and Afghanistan, and from their foreign minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi of war, do you really think that the of India
require two people to clap? Now, if Pakistan is planning to close the air corridor, it's less of, to put it bluntly, it not only leads to economic bleeding, but it creates a lot of bad blood, because ultimately, if they think that this is about posturing, or it is about taking care of their own domestic opinion, because opposition parties in Pakistan have become very aggressive. Yesterday, Bilal said, there were times when we talk about, taking how to say, but I think Pakistan needs to raise above the rhetoric and understand that India is not an aggressive nation. By 48, 55, 71, India did not declare war on Pakistan. In all the three counts, the war on India was declared by Pakistan. There were 5 million refugees when 1971 happened. Kargil happened because of Pakistan intrusion. Balakot and other surgical strikes happened because the patience was tested. So international community does understand that India is not a country which believes in expeditionary international politics. India has never done that. So in this case, I think Pakistan needs to realize that, but I think it's hostage to bad politics, and that bad politics rests on anti-India sentiment.
All right, let's leave it at that for now. Thank you so much, Kartikeya Sharma and Ramesh Ramachandran, for joining us on this newscast and bringing in your precious perspective.